It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. We intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
What's up? Let me do a little white mic check. What up, D? D's first. D's first. D, I don't have anything to give you for being first today except you'll get a free sticker with your t-shirt this week. What up, D Bartlett? This is mic'd up. Oh. This is mic'd up. Good morning, Justin. How your team doing, Justin? I had a little scare last night. Shout out to all my fantasy football peoples. What up? This is mic'd up in the morning with Mika Gadsden. Yeah, I'm glad you're happy. Right. Oh, cool. I'm glad you love the shirt. Hey, what up, Meg? What up, Meg? Y'all hear me good? It sounds like y'all do. Y'all would have said something by now. My lips is moving. All right, what's up? Hopefully, you all that's exactly how my weekend went. Hopefully y'all have smoked them high score of the week. Got it. Hopefully y'all had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I wanna pause really quickly and I want to say thank you to there's a lot of Twitch peeps in particular. Thank you to all my Twitch peeps. Thank you to all my friends, my real ride or dies, the people that show up. I really do hope to justify folks' confidence in me. A Friday at the poorhouse, I was out there slinging shirts. Shout out to people who came out there to purchase a shirt, to make a connection. Man, it felt really good to connect with people who I only see online. Excuse me, y'all. It felt really good to just connect with people. It felt really good to hear from people. Good morning, Joni. It's really important to continue to just tell y'all I really appreciate it. You poured into me this weekend. Shout out to Wolf. Shout out to Alex, who hosted me this weekend at their beautiful home. Pouring into me. Y'all don't even know how much it means to just hear how perhaps not just like, oh, you made an impact and blah, blah, blah. But really to kind of connect with people on a personal level and not be just Mika the activist, be Mika, the friend. And I hope that I can continue to make those connections. It really means a lot because staring at a screen for as long as I do throughout the week is not normal. I don't think it's normal to stare at a screen. And so sometimes you become like detached from reality. So it felt really good to hug on people. It felt really good to eat and commune, break bread and get lit with people. Shout out to my DJ Moldy Brain, Jared. Jared just is an amazing friend and co-conspirator. I just appreciate all y'all. D, you just been all that in the bag of chips as well. Just everybody. Justin, thank you for listening to me. All my voice memos on IG this weekend about 9/11 and Obama. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. And the voice memos, it's good to hear your voice. It's so much. And if I didn't mention you by name, it's not because, you don't matter. But thank you this weekend. Also, and I know y'all love, take a swig of your morning beverage, whether it's yerba mate or kombucha, coffee, espresso. Take a swig every time I tell y'all I'm 40, but nah, I'm 40, y'all. So also, I can't be hanging tough. I just can't. The recovery is wow. I was never even a partier. Like I literally can probably count on 4 fingers how many drinks I had in college. I was never a partier, and I wasn't partying like that, but I did more than I typically do. And yeah, the OG ain't equipped. Thank you so much, D for saying that. Y'all inspire me. All right, so check it. Oh man, so we're gonna switch into what we're here to talk about. If you caught the newsletter this morning, I lightened up a little bit. I didn't send a Sunday recap. I'm gonna do the week recap on Mondays, and then I might just send one newsletter a week. I know I'm shook a little bit right now. Unless there's something important happening, like tomorrow, right? So if you got the newsletter, you know that tomorrow City Council convenes for a regular City Council meeting. However, there are 2 agenda items that demand our attention, and we want to get into that. So today's live stream is going to be about, we're going to talk about that agenda within the newsletter. If you're the type of viewer or follower that watches the live stream, you know, whenever, or opens the emails whenever, just know that the agenda is linked. Almost everything in that newsletter is linked. Whether it's linked to videos, to this stream, but the agenda, the City Council agenda, was pulled directly or downloaded directly from the city's website. And so you'll know what the entire meeting will be about. But they've made it, I think that red and bold, and y'all keep me honest in the chat if you all are like me and have read the City Council agenda. Shout out Evelyn, who's always on top of it as well. But it looks like they made sure to emphasize decorum and civility in terms of how you give your comment. Now, we know from the last very raucous Daniel Island hosted City Council meeting, we know that got out of hand because of a very vocal and irrational minority got up to talk about everything from smiting City Council with God's wrath to just faux science and bullying and spitting on medical officials. We know that all went down, and those histrionics are probably on deck to take place again because they'll be talking about mask ordinances. And we're going to get into COVID again. This is a local roundup live stream today. So we'll talk about how COVID is still impacting our area, our state, right? And our elected officials' inability to really corral the situation. So I think they've heeded the call. I think they've heard from enough not elected officials, they've heard enough from concerned citizens. Our city council has heard enough from medical professionals. We saw the video that Roper St. Francis released. Y'all see that if you follow me on IG, you've seen that I use portions of that video, that very hard to watch, difficult to watch video to relay a very important message. We're going to talk about tourism today. We want to kind of continue what that reel kind of prompted in terms of how our state and especially our local CVB has been very, very enthusiastic at promoting tourism amid a pandemic. Shout out to the followers who sent me, my Secret Squirrel followers who sent me little tidbits. I don't receive CBD. I don't, they both scams to me. CBD and CVB are both scams to me. I don't believe in CBD at all. I'm sorry. Just smoke the real shit. Just eat the real shit. Just consume the real shit. But the CVB has just gone like, we don't give a fuck about your health. We don't give a fuck about your kids. They put out a full page ad advertising or celebrating their travel and leisure, best city, We know they purchased that. Shout out Evelyn for her post this weekend regarding how much money CVB buys, how much ad space. And for someone who asked me, chat real quick, someone asked me like, how do you, and they weren't like, I don't think they were trying to be a jerk at all. They said as much. They said, well, how do you know they paid for this? If you spend $3, $5, $8, $10 million specifically with Condé Nast, who gives out that award, that in essence is you buying that award. And I know I've covered this for years, more so on IG, but I recommend folks just Google Tamika or Mika Gadsden, New York Times tourism. Just Google that and you'll see the story about the CVB, about their culture of settling. Excuse me, I was trying to say peddling an antebellum Charleston that's steeped in racism, atrocity, torture. They're selling that actively, but just branding it as something else, right? And also, I think it touches on the investments that they've made in Condé Nast. If not, you can do your Googles and you can find out. But those awards are not that's the one sad thing about becoming an adult and having like a veil lifted over your eyes. I got you in the chat. Good morning, y'all. one thing about becoming an adult and naivete kind of just falling by the wayside is that you know that most awards are either purchased or campaigned for. Like, they're very political and they're not organic. It's not like folks just feel compelled to say, you know what, Charleston is just a great place. Let me go here for 9 years. We're number one. Like that, you have to campaign for that. You have to actively create your case for that. And when you look at the CVB's involvement on the aviation board, when you see the CVB's involvement with certain political figures, you see the CVB's involvement with local government, and how they shape a lot of the ordinances and movement we see from city council, what they're compelled to move on, is informed by the CVB. The pressure they apply to law enforcement to keep the crown jewel as safe as possible from the First Amendment, as safe as possible from protests. That's the CVB. That's Helen Hill. They're very political. And when you look at all that, look at the money spent, look at the ads in the paper, look at what they're able to get for COVID relief. You have no other choice but to arrive at a conclusion that they're using a lot of money to wield a lot of influence and to garner a lot of just fake awards. And those, no shade to anybody who got these amazing awards, but I ain't gonna say it because I don't want to alienate people who won some really great awards, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Like these awards, the Grammys, anything, it's political. It's political. The Academy Award is political. It could, because it's big money. And so you have to campaign for those things, and you have to really, really try to earn those distinctions. Let me hop into the chat because I was bloviating for a minute. What's up, Michelle? Good morning. What's up, Denise? Good morning to you. All right. Let me see, Michelle. Where was the last meeting? Where was this at the last meeting? You're talking about the city council emphasizing decorum. I know, right? All right. And we'll get into that when we switch the screens over, right? Yeah, AIC. I know. Now I'm doing the AIC for real. Justin, I don't know what you applauded. Maybe you applauded Michelle's comment. Yeah. I don't know, but thank you anyway. All right, so let's get to it. So we're gonna talk about city council, what you need to do. I might open up my newsletter real quick. What you need to do. No, I don't have to. And our local lawmakers, local from the Low Country all the way out to the state. We're gonna kind of go back to some of the news from last week that we didn't get to cover because of 9/11, because of all the other stuff we were doing, and getting ready for it. So we're gonna get there. All right, let's switch it over. All right. Ooh, less than 30 minutes of jabber. All right. First, let's do what we trying to get back to, at least on Mondays. All right. Currently, let me hit refresh because it felt good. I went out on my balcony just a second ago to get grounded before I did my live stream. This is 67 degrees as per Charleston weather. Felt good outside. Today, mostly sunny. Y'all said no rain, no rain. If there is any rain, it might be very, very, very minimal chance. What's up, new follower? What's up from Facebook? All right. Here we go. September 13th through the 19th. Shout out again, Charleston weather. Shout out Jared. 86 degrees today here in Charleston. All right. And then you see the chances for rain increasing throughout the week, but early fall vibes for sure. All right, let's close that out. I wanted to hop first. Hey, Jessica. We're going to get to this. I didn't read this. I wanted to save this to read with the gang. I've been really following, I guess, Emily Williams, her reporting on tourism for obvious reasons. And really interested in this right here, how revenge travel. I've never heard of this. If you've heard of revenge travel, drop it in the chat. But this is from yesterday's Post and Courier, the Sunday Post and Courier. If it's in the Sunday edition too, it's a good story. So let's get into it. If you ever heard of that, again, I have not read it yet. If you've heard of that, let me know. Tip me off what that could be about, right? I literally haven't read it yet. This is also from Sunday's paper. This is the front page of Sunday's state paper. Okay. So on the front page of yesterday's paper from the state, districts report more inexperienced out-of-field teachers. If I have any teachers, educators, administrators in education that can chime in on what this story signifies or what it's speaking directly to, holla at me. Here they have a picture of fourth graders sitting in a classroom on August 18th. You see the part, I don't know if you can see it, but you can make out the plexiglass or plastic partitions here for the first day of school at AC Moore Elementary. Social distancing, masks, and plexiglass dividers help prevent the spread of the coronavirus, right? So that's the front page of yesterday's paper from the state. Then here you have, we're going to get into this, Biden's vaccine mandates, because we've seen our governor show his ass over the past weekend about the new mandates. And we've seen the other governors from other red states also act. So he's just picking up the same script. Oh my gosh. I hate when people I don't hate it, but people always text me, they know what I'm doing right now. Talking about some good morning. Good morning, boo. All right. So also 9/11 dominated the front page of the paper, right? All right. So front page of the state paper. This is supposed to encourage yesterday's front page. Today we are exhausted. I picked up the paper just because I saw this as the front page story. Also because Avery Wilkes is on the beat. Did not read it, but this captured my attention because it also continues to communicate that this Delta variant is kicking our ass. This Delta variant is stressing not just our medical systems, but our overall, health care or some extended version of health and safety, public health and public safety. All these departments set up to keep us safe. I'm glad that they started to get these testimonials from, this is it looks like a lab technician named Mitchell. It says long hours, anxiety, stress, the reality for DHEC workers amid the pandemic. Shout out to my family, my cousin Juliet, who also works for DHEC. And then at the bottom here, you have going to war, residents stepped up to serve after 9/11. Y'all know from Friday, we want to, I feel like, yes, commemorate the loss of lives, recognize those who sacrificed themselves to keep people safe on 9/11, recognize those who we lost 9/11. But I think that the more noteworthy conversation outside of this, and we saw it, if you were out in Charleston this weekend, you saw the bikers, you saw the marches on the bridge, and no shade to any of that. But I think the more worthy conversation, I'm just gonna have to put my own spin on it. The conversation I'm more interested in having, let me say it like that, is around imperialism, U.S. imperialism. I think that's a more nuanced conversation we need to have. And I understand mourning, I understand commemoration. I did watch the ceremonies that took place early Saturday morning, and they were very emotional. But I felt so conflicted because many of the people who were the architects of so much bad foreign policy, or those who were instrumental in continuing the cycle of violence that Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright Jr. spoke to in his sermon that I posted on Instagram. A lot of those policies or those actions that he talked about, that cycle of violence, was perpetuated by these presidents. So we saw former President Bill Clinton, former President Obama, president in New York. They were in New York with President Biden and all that. And then you had Bush and Kamala out in Shanksville, PA. It just was mixed emotions, and watching, the commemoration is one thing, but also understanding, what our role was abroad, right? Is very important. All right. Real quick, Denise over here in the chat regarding the kids in plexiglass says, you wish Dorchester District 2 use plexiglass. All right. Really? Yep. I'm with you. That's the agenda. We're going to get to that in a second. Today's paper. This is today's Post and Courier, front page, one of the lucky ones. State trooper spends weeks in the hospital while being treated for COVID-19 and makes a special friend in the process. Haven't read this yet, but let's read a little bit. Let's kind of read a little bit of this, because I think it's important. All right. 9 days after Delvin Brown first felt sick, he knew it was time to go to the hospital. He'd already been diagnosed with COVID-19 in early August, but his symptoms weren't improving. They were getting worse. He felt like he couldn't breathe. On August 9th, at Somerville Medical Center, providers hooked him up to an oxygen tank in the emergency department. And that's where he stayed for 3 days until one of 38 beds finally opened on the COVID floor. That's sad. Wow. He stayed in the emergency room for 3 days? Or like, one of those emergency. Wow. Wow. I'm going to encourage you to read the rest of the story. I think it's so important to hear these testimonials to put a face to the disease. I will say this, shout out to Post and Courier for continuing to do this. Even Brian Hicks was talking right. Not a fan of Brian Hicks, but he was talking right. I think I downloaded his story that he wrote, his opinion column, which basically says, yeah, we need mask mandates and don't listen to those the screaming, very, very vocal minority of the unmasked crowd that's also being supported by, I really wish Brian Hicks, you had the backing of that visual. I really wish Brian Hicks and others whose column is very popular here in Charleston, I really wish they would talk about the white nationalist figures embedded within these groups. I really wish somebody would commit that to the story. Shout out to the news. What was that? WCIV, ABC News. They said it. Shout out to Anna Marks for sharing that link last week. They wrote it. At least they wrote it for the copy that accompanied the video covering these unmasked faction. Right. It's really important to. I'm really happy to see these papers committing so much real estate to the disease and to how we're doing. Real quick, very important right here, man. We're going to get to this. We're going to get to this Motown great here. James Jamerson. I knew nothing about James Jamerson until I met one of my friends a couple years ago who put me on game. And I'm telling you, another South Carolina great that we just need to acknowledge. Another amazing black musician from this area that needs some sort of memorial. I'll read that later and maybe keep y'all updated on that. All right. Over here to the right, teachers get cash bonus for vaccine. 4 districts across South Carolina using federal relief funds for incentive. That's what I'm talking about. Let's blow this up a little bit. Oh yeah, not that much. Let's see if we can. All right. Let's see. All right. Says 4 South Carolina school districts have found an innovative use for their federal COVID-19 relief fund dollars, asking teachers to get one of the coronavirus vaccines by offering full-time employees cash bonuses. We know that down in Colleton County, they've been on that. Anderson School District, so this is an upstate. Anderson School District 5 is giving employees $500 if they have proof that they are 100% vaccinated. Again, we know that Colleton County did the same thing. Colleton County School District is handing out $300. Richland School District 2 is awarding $250. And Orangeburg County School District is giving them $200. That's what's up. Let's scroll down here. This other article here. One more vaccination story. Again, love to see it on the front page, big and bold. All right. 1 district to pay vaccinated students $100. Some parents object to superintendent's plan. I bet you do. Mm-hmm. Some parents object. Oh, well, again, in Anderson, Tom Wilson remembers the first time he learned about vaccines. It was in the late 1950s. And Wilson was in elementary school. The polio virus was ravaging the country. When a vaccine for the crippling infection was approved, Wilson watched relief wash over the adults in his life. His entire community, including classmates, teachers, principals, and parents, were all on the same team then. Now in 2021, Anderson School District 5 superintendent is trying to convince his community to get another vaccine. Right, but I'm not going to read the whole story, but it says misinformation. We know the rest of the script, right? Let me hop over in the chat. Okay. D, you put in the chat. You said your mom got a call last night that her cousin, you put REP, probably unvaxxed, is dying. Oh no. The stress on the healthcare system is so intense. Jessica, you dropped something in the chat earlier. Says, yes, I'm going. I have no desire to, but the anti-maskers have anti-maskers always have a strong vocal showing, right? So the groups on the area have been encouraging people to please show up and show out in a way that, you know, the way we need to. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, D. I'm so sorry to hear about that, the cousin that has COVID. It's frustrating. And yeah, I know, Jessica, you talked about loss. I know many people reached out to me, talked about personal. Like seriously, I'm meeting and hearing from more people who lost someone to COVID now than I did at the height of, you know, social distancing and you know, to self quarantine and all that, right? I'm hearing more stories. I feel like I'm seeing more stories of really close, like teachers, younger people, 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds, either succumbing to the virus or really having a tough time. This weekend, I learned about a pediatric case that just broke my heart. Of course, the baby is, not of course, but thankfully or gratefully, the baby is okay. But just hearing that account really broke my heart. Justin, you said to D, similar situation in your family. Thank you for sharing, Justin. You said your step aunt just passed after a month-long battle in the hospital, and you don't believe she was vaccinated. Again, I'm so sorry for y'all's losses, and it's preventable. It's preventable. This is the front page of today's state newspaper. Wait. Did I do two? I think I did. Yeah, I uploaded it twice. Yeah, I uploaded it twice, but I have it somewhere. That's okay. Let's because we're gonna read this in a second. Because as the Post and Courier has made, is reporting the news, and you know they, you know, reporting the news on COVID, keeping it real. We know that the CVB is kind of just still like, we just gonna continue to woo tourism. So we're gonna get to that tourism story in a second. But local news, ain't nothing more local. Let me make this bigger so you can see this on the other side. Oh, Babs got a nice little picture. Got her picture taken this weekend, right? Oh, Republican. Got you. I got you. That's what you meant when you said your cousin D was Republican, so maybe more likely to listen to propaganda, right? Right, gotcha. So, swinging a little bit back to the school districts, back to Babs. So, shout out to all y'all who hit me up when this shit broke that Babs turned herself in, I think. Well, let's just click the story. Let's make sure. Hopefully, this guy's video. Let's see. So, school board member charged with leaving great grandkids in her car.
Wake up with Hardee's.
I'm gonna mute this. And also we learned that I think the car is running. That's what Brian Hicks wrote in his opinion column. I think she left the car running with the kids in there. I'm just saying. Here we go. Hold on.
Children inside of a car appeared for her bond court hearing today.
Let me rewind it.
A Dorchester District 2 school board member accused of leaving 2 children inside of a car appeared for her bond court hearing today. The Dorchester County Sheriff's Office says Barbara Crosby surrendered to deputies. Now, DD2, the school district, they released
what they used to tell us when we used to protest for Black lives, and we used to protest and advocate for Black people who were. Oh, I remember when a young student was slammed in her desk by the school resource officer up in Richland County at Spring Valley High School. I remember the comment section. Many commenters who had a white profile would say stuff like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Well, it doesn't apply to a kid being assaulted by an SRO, but it applies here. You play stupid games, Barbara, you win stupid prizes.
A statement saying in part, quote, "We are saddened by the unfortunate allegations of Barbara Crosby's conduct.
Take her off the board.
We will cooperate fully with the investigation and will await the outcome of the legal proceedings." Our Jordan Siopa joins us now live in Somerville, where that bond court hearing was, with more. Jordan?
God will free her. Yes, Nicole. Good morning, Nicole.
Lisa, today we heard directly from Barbara Crosby during her bond hearing. She clarified today that those children who she's accused of endangering are actually her great-grandchildren, and she says she raised those kids. Lieutenant Rick Carson says Crosby is charged with 2 counts of unlawful conduct to a child and 1 count of statutory misconduct in office. According to officials, the charges stem from an incident on September 1st in the parking lot of the DD2 Adult Learning Center in Somerville during a Dorchester District 2 board meeting. Officials say a deputy at the center heard loud banging from the door, and when he opened the door, Crosby entered the building and said she was late. The sheriff's office report states that Crosby told the deputy that she left her car in the parking lot with her 4-year-old and 9-year-old great-grandchildren inside the vehicle. Crosby's grandson joined her today. He says his sister is the children's mother. He told the judge his sister was working today and wanted to be there. He says he believes his grandmother is not a danger to the children. Any restrictions preventing Crosby from seeing the children were left up to the court. Judge Michael H. Murphy III says if the mother requests Crosby to be restricted from them, he will take that into consideration.
Damn, I got deep. I didn't know all that.
I just wanted to say that my grandson that is there and his sister, I practically raised them too because their mother is an MP. And then these 2, I retired when she had these children, when she had her first child.
Okay.
And I've kept them every day since I've had them. And
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I raised them too, and I keep them every day.
Now, the sheriff's office and the solicitor's office determined that Crosby is not a danger to the community and she is not a flight risk. She was issued a $25,000 PR bond and is set to appear in court on November 5th. Reporting live in Somerville, I'm Jordan Sayopa, Live 5 News.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Let me get out of that.
Your parents raised you to work
Get out of
hard,
that.
do your best.
Oh, boy.
And you've
These
always
ads.
been a good employee.
These
Putting in
ads.
that extra effort on the job.
Okay. So, yeah, it's really, you know, I hope it was a humbling experience. I talked about that. I don't know. I talked about it very briefly in another live stream, not to center myself completely. But things like this are humbling. And like my father and I were talking about this. He had a very humbling experience like over 10 years ago. And then when I got fired from Cypress abruptly, that was a humbling experience. And whether or not I felt like things happen to me that are just or unjust, I think it's an opportunity. And I'm being dead ass serious right now. It's really a moment. I hope Barbara really does understand that people are looking to her for leadership. And so how she moves and how she acts as an elected school board official is important, right? That's important. But also, you said your value systems are you care about kids. Well, we need to see you demonstrate that in real time. Again, as an elected official, I think you have a certain responsibility to model certain behavior. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be doing this. But I really do think this is a moment that should humble her. I'm like, look, you know what? Let me just pipe down a little bit. Let me ratchet down the post. But Jessica, I'll leave it to you. You have the you have the, I guess, a duty like other mothers, parents, guardians, to kind of track her movements and see how, if she keeps up the rhetoric online, if she keeps up the partisan rhetoric, the conspiracy theories, we'll see how she keeps moving, because she loves Facebook and she loves peddling misinformation. Let's see if this moment humbled her, and let's see if she'll start acting like an adult or like a great grand meemaw and get her shit together, because she's been acting reprehensible. Like, her posts are Islamophobic, are xenophobic, are bigoted, are just soaked in the most egregious and insane, wildly insane conspiracy theories. Her posts are not reality. And so hopefully she takes this as a moment like, you know what, people are looking at me, people are looking to me. She already stormed out of that meeting. She left the kids in the car. She ignored the deputies as she ran in. All of that. And y'all pointed out last week, there was a virtual option. So if you care about these kids, and I guess she didn't want to use the virtual option to make her point about schools not being virtual. That's probably why she didn't do it. But like, you say you care about these kids. You said those are your values, but we saw you practice something different, right? And she had an option, and virtual options are not the devil. And you know, she fucked around and found out. All right, she deleted her school board Facebook account, as she should. Thank you, Meg, for giving me that update. Jessica, you just dropped in the chat, I hate to look a gift horse in the mouth, but she should have been gone years ago. She definitely, y'all, I use the term hyper tenure a lot. meaning that just folks that stay in office too long. Clyburn is I use it when I'm talking about Clyburn. People like mayor / developer Riley, he hyper tenure. Like, we just have to stop making that normal, that you just get to set it and forget it. You have to start challenging these elected officials, no matter where you sit. Push them to be better. And if they can't meet your standard, if they can't do their job, if they're just sitting there and enjoying a high profile and all the whatever comes with being on these governing bodies, if they can't step up and meet the challenges that you're putting forth, they gotta go. What's up, Ray Jean? Look, y'all, got a celebrity in the house, new follower. I'm in Facebook jail. I don't think even when I get out of jail, I don't know if I'm going back to Facebook. It's just been no interruptions, no technical glitches ever since I just kept it simple. All right, so that's Babs. Shout out to all y'all who kept me on top of this. Please continue to, within reason. But also, this is me searching Barbara Crosby, not even putting SC, not even putting anything specific. Barbara Crosby and hitting the news tab on Google, and she should be humbled by this. She gotta, except for that last one, she gotta be humbled by this. She's making all the wrong news. Newsweek ain't even included here. And she made Daily Mail, Newsweek, Live 5, WCBD, WLTX in Columbia. It's just sad. Post and Courier. It's sad. You too grown to be getting in trouble like that, Babs. All right, some other news here. What I did was hit Charleston, South Carolina, COVID-19, and hit the news tab here just to give you a picture as to what the news is looking like. Just over a little bit. Here in the Low Country. So this is just some headlines I'm just gonna rattle off. Low Country hospitals dealing with yet another COVID-19 spike. This is WTGS. All right, but they took the coverage from WCIV, that's Channel 4, a Sinclair station. All right, so this is one headline. What's different this time, they're asking? That's the question they're begging. This is some communication from MUSC. If you haven't already, please make sure you continue to get the publicly released information from MUSC. Go to their website or do what I just did, Google it, and you'll probably get their latest PR release or just this real-time information about how they're dealing with the crisis here locally. And also, as you see right here, this is a bi-weekly report that they offer up that came out. The most recent one came out 3 days ago, as you see right here. 2 days ago, reported by Live 5 News, South Carolina reports nearly 4,000 new cases of COVID-19. All right, that's an abomination. Charleston, South Carolina's largest city. I think I read this to y'all. South Carolina's largest city is latest to order employees to get vaccinated. More from MUSC 8 hours ago. I might click on this. Community in mourning after Monks Corner pastor died. I saw this morning. Let me see if there's a video for this. Because this was kind of sad. Again, putting a face and name to this loss is going to be very important. Let me hit mute. It's going to be very important. Well, let's just add. So, community in mourning after Monk's Corner pastor died from COVID-19. I think, and I'm hearing a lot from people that suffered for like a month. Like they've been in jail a month.
Delay. Trust the orthopedic.
Members of a Monk's Corner church are remembering their beloved pastor. Pastor Paul Garrett died Friday after a long battle with COVID-19. Jordan Siopa spoke with his wife about his legacy he leaves behind.
Friends, family, and members of Life Givers Church in Monk's Corner are mourning the loss of one of their own. Pastor Paul Garrett passed away on Friday after battling COVID in the hospital for nearly a month. He was only 55.
Damn.
Pastor Paul's wife, Susie Garrett, says he began showing symptoms on Sunday, August 15th.
That evening, he started running a low-grade temperature, and he had a kidney transplant 12 years ago.
Oh.
He went to the MUSC emergency room just a few days later. On Saturday, less than a week after he began feeling sick, Susie says her husband was moved to the ICU, and a few days after that, she says Pastor Paul was put into a medically induced coma. Susie says Paul was partially vaccinated and had already gotten sick before it was time for his second shot. On September 9th, Susie got the call that she should come to the hospital as the pastor was not doing well. She and a few others were there for his final moments of life before he died on September 10th.
It's so sad.
And they said he took his last heartbeat. And my head just went down. But I think everything went down on me. And I said, so did I. Because we were inseparable.
Susie and Pastor Paul had been married for 33 years on August 20th. They share 2 sons together, Tyler and Travis. Travis was tragically killed by a train 13 years ago. Paul became a pastor at Life Givers Church 10 years ago. Susie says he was passionate about everything he did for the church. He was even supposed to officiate his son Tyler's wedding on September 4th, but sadly could not attend. Members of Life Givers say Pastor Paul made a huge impact on the church.
Pastor was a very passionate man. When he preached, his voice would tremble at times.
I'm not hearing a COVID message yet.
You know, he was so passionate, ready to cry.
They believe in the vaccine
times because he loved people.
For Robert Thomas, Pastor Paul was someone who helped him get through a loss he was all too familiar with.
He helped me realize that I did not lose my faith. Because I could thank God for the 22 years I had with my son, instead of being mad about the ones I don't have.
Friends and family say Pastor Paul will be greatly missed. Reporting in Moncks Corner, Jordan Siopa, Live 5 News.
Not asserting or intimating that they need to be very vocal about vaccinations, but I do hope. Usually when what I've been seeing with some of the reporting, whether it be national or here in South Carolina, I've seen a lot of, people then saying, after they suffered a great loss, saying, please go get vaccinated. Please go get vaccinated. And so I really do. I didn't hear that from church, but not saying that they have to say that in a moment of deep mourning and grief. But you like to hear folks communicate. And the fact that it sounds like he was partially vaccinated, which was reassuring to hear that at least there was some effort to get vaccinated. But we're almost I think I got my first shot in April. So we're not like at a year since the vaccine became widely available to everybody, but we know that some people have just been very slow to take the vaccine. So I don't know when he got his first shot. I don't know when he was due for the second, but it sounds like he took it maybe more recently. And that also like that slow walk on, maybe I have time. We're hearing too many of those stories, right? Of like, maybe I got time. I thought I had more time. I'm still doing research. And again, not trying to dismiss the story or to undermine, the loss there, but you really want people to hurry up and get vaccinated. Time is not a luxury that many of us have. You said so many gone and so many possibly preventable. Yeah, exactly. Especially if you had some sort of pre-existing health condition, right? Jessica, you just offered in the chat, he received 1 shot. It's just going to turn into a melee of blaming that vaccine. Right, that part. That's what I'm afraid of too. Oh, he got 1 shot, see how it didn't protect him. They said 1 shot will give you some protection, and it's going to turn into that, or it's going to turn into, see, the shot didn't save him, or the shot caused it. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. Good morning, Anna Marks. It is sad. Joni, we don't have time. Thank you, Joni, for offering that in the chat. We don't have time at all. All right. So again, just take a beat. If you wanted to just do a quick look at news regarding COVID-19 and all that, I think I'm gonna leave this up because I want to get into these 2 things. Talk about this is the Beer Fest, Charleston Beer Fest postponed due to COVID, and then the second Sunday returning. There was this big ad in the paper about certain events returning to Charleston, specifically in the market. There's this big ad. I think Tecklenburg and his family are performing, or Tecklenburg is going to attend, and I believe I don't know if it's a nephew or whatever, I don't know, but there's somebody else with the name Tecklenburg in a quartet or some shit, or a trio, playing at some sort of tourism, whatever. So this is the thing we have to watch for, right? Tomorrow night, City Council is going to make this move on the ordinance, on the mask ordinance and all that other stuff. And then you see, just watch this. I see councilperson Ross Appel signaling on Twitter, watch watch this Tuesday, right? We've got some activists moving or organizing in advance of tomorrow's vote, which indicates to me that I'm sure some of the more it communicates to me that city council is making movement to tell people, hey, watch us do this thing. But I'm gonna watch y'all do y'all thing too in the newspaper. I'm gonna watch y'all do y'all thing in terms of what events y'all sponsor and you show up to and what ribbons you cut. I'm going to watch y'all also in terms of what you are communicating to tourists, what you are communicating to people who are coming here. I'm going to watch y'all do your thing. Ross, Jason, Carol, Del Chapo, Waring, Gregory, all of them, right? I'm Tecklenburg. I'm going to watch y'all do your thing in terms of how you're moving around in these streets, in terms of things to help keep people safe. And I know we have to, people have, our food and bev and hospitality sector is hurting right now. For the workforce there, I really feel it. I feel for you. But I'm going to just say that there's so much money that has flooded in this state in the form of COVID relief money. And I feel like some of those funds, like we've seen with some of those school districts, I think a lot of those funds could still be used to provide relief to staff and whatnot during the time when we have to practice extreme caution. I'm just watching that. All right. Let me see. All right. Jessica, you dropped in the chat a second ago. These corporate vaccine mandates are working. Let me read that again. These corporate vaccine mandates are working. People aren't quitting in droves. They are getting the shot. Yes, they are exactly that. Yep. Denise, again, talking about the time we don't have. You said we're all on borrowed time. I completely agree. Jessica, you went on to say about the mandates, the federal government needs to show up. I think they forgot. Not everyone down here is in a MAGA hat. They really do. I'm really tired of that broad generalization of the voting public here. I want to get into that mandate from last week, the news that we got last week from Joe Biden. And then you see right here, McMaster up here, and then we have Joe Biden here. So let's click on this.
Now reporting.
Talking about mandates. And this just sparked so much controversy and so much kabuki, WWE, you know what I mean? From governors like Governor Abbott of Texas and DeSantis in Florida, and of course Mick Disaster here in South Carolina.
David Muir.
Good afternoon, and we're coming on the air at this hour because President Biden is expected to unveil his strategy for this next chapter in this fight against the COVID surge sweeping across the U.S. The Delta variant now killing more than 1,000 Americans every day. The president will be revealing his 6-point plan from the White House, focusing, we believe, on increasing vaccinations, a talk of boosters, of course, schools, and the economy. He's expected to sign an executive order requiring the majority of federal employees in this country and government contractors to be vaccinated now without that option of testing, meaning vaccines. They need the vaccination in order to work, federal workers. And companies with 100 or more employees, it's believed, will also have to ensure that workers are vaccinated or tested weekly. All of this comes as the U.S. now averages more than 140,000 new COVID cases a day.
So this was from a couple of days ago. This is right before he gave the address. And you know, all the news shows, I didn't even watch the Sunday shows. But you know, all the news shows and whatnot, they took that. I want to get like a more succinct snapshot of the mandates, right? So we'll go right here. This is 13 hours ago. This is good.
We begin tonight.
So, but, you know, well, let me just let this play. What up, Jerika Duncan?
With the country still reeling from the effects of the pandemic, new daily infections are still high, but trending down over the last 2 weeks. But U.S. deaths are up 30% over that same time period.
Insane.
Meanwhile, President Biden is doubling down on efforts to turn the tide against the virus. CBS's Lilia Luciano has details.
Good evening, Jerika. There's praise and pushback over the president's new mandate affecting companies like Costco. It requires businesses with 100 employees or more to get vaccinated or to test weekly for COVID.
President Biden's sweeping new vaccine mandate appears to be deepening America's political divide. Several Republican governors, including Nebraska's Governor Pete Ricketts, are vowing to fight it in court.
Somebody shouldn't have to make the choice between keeping their job and getting a jab in the arm.
The mandate requires federal workers and the military get their shots, but some private businesses too. Former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb.
I don't think the federal government should be dictating this. I also don't think governors should be preventing small businesses from making these determinations on their own.
About 80 million private sector workers are impacted.
I think putting the onus on each individual employer it's a lot of effort for companies to make those decisions and to try to enforce it. So I think having a consistent policy is a really good thing.
Only half of all states have at least half their population fully vaccinated.
We don't.
Nationwide, deaths are up, but hospitalizations and cases are trending down.
How do other parents, how are they okay with that? How are they just okay with that over, a mask?
For the kids sickest with COVID, hospitalization rates spiked almost tenfold since late June.
Good morning, Kia.
The reality is that we may be headed to another peak or to another valley if we all pull together.
The vaccines that are available are for people 12 years old or older. But according to Dr. Scott Gottlieb, a vaccine for children between the ages of 5 and 11 may become available by Halloween.
I read that over the weekend that vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds might become available. Now, it was important to show that national story. Again, we're going to make sure we focus heavily on local issues and local leadership. On vaccine mandates and so on. So this prompted this response from McDisaster.
President Biden announced a new plan that is, to deal with the virus. The president will require businesses with 100 or more employees to make sure their employees are fully vaccinated or that they're tested for the virus weekly. This is expected to affect over 100 million Americans. The president also took aim at states that ban mask mandates in schools, saying if school districts lose state funding for implementing such mandates, then the federal government would step in to help. Just moments ago, the governor reacted to all of this by saying, and we're quoting now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare under President Biden and the radical Democrats. They declared war against capitalism, thumbed their noses at the Constitution, and empowered our enemies abroad.
So fake.
McMaster added that, quoting again, rest assured we will fight them to the gates of hell to protect the liberty and livelihood of every South Carolinian. It's going to be much more on the president's plan coming up at the bottom of the hour on the CBS.
So just such a over the top response. Y'all, if any of my 90s wrestling fans, drop the wrestler that McMaster reminds you of. I'm trying to think who he sound. He sound like an evil hacksaw Jim Duggan, like just with the whole like patriotic flag shit. I don't know. Drop the Macho Man, even though I love Macho Man Randy Savage, but he feels a little Macho Man. Like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. Shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. Okay. I see Nancy is also, I'm really like hesitant to just really click on Nancy Mace stuff because it's just weird. Shout out to y'all last week. Kia, you were one. I got a Nancy Mace mailer too. So I think I'm a registered Democrat. I know all the Democrats got my data, but whatever data she purchased, she's definitely targeting Democratic voters, even though I would say I got more Lindsey Graham stuff in this new apartment, and then I still get mail on Wadmalaw, and that's where I get the bulk of my League of Women Voters mail, all that stuff. And yeah, I got this Nancy Mace mailer, you know what I mean? Like, and it's trying to me, it looks like, okay, so let me see what's going on in the chat real quick. To the gates of hell. Y'all reacted to McMaster, right? It's a nightmare. Unmasking parent. Let me see. Oh God. Y'all really went off. My bad. Anna Marks, before I get to Nancy Mace and switch into another story, Anna Marks, you said this language is a call to insurrectionist groups. Yep, in your opinion. Ding, 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 ding. Talking about McMaster. Let me stay focused. Talk about McMaster and his theater. Justin, you said LOL Democrats declare war against capitalism. I'm like, in my dreams. Exactly. You read my mind when I was listening to that. Kia, you say OMG, all of this dramatic acting. Anna Marks, you then offered up more. You said unmasking parent groups, right? Like he's definitely putting the battery in their back for sure, and they don't need any motivation. But here we are. Joni, you said COVID-19 is a nightmare. Though it is the nightmare. Absolutely. To the gates of hell. I roll from Nicole. What's up? Is K Slaughter 84. You said your kids are getting that vaccine as soon as they are allowed to. Amen to you. Same thing with the booster and my parents, right? All right. And you went on to say, Kay Slater, you said you're sick and tired of fearing for your children's lives because of a bunch of selfish, entitled people. I just don't get how vaccines got, I get the whole anti-vaccine. I saw it coming, you know, more so in my adult years. Like once I got out of college, you started hearing people really doubt vaccines and saying, oh, vaccines cause autism, even though that's been debunked a lot. I just don't know how we got here from like what we read earlier about the, you know, when polio vaccine came out, because we saw how it ravaged kids. We just ran to the polio vaccine as a country. When you go abroad and travel, you have to get these shots before you go to certain continents or certain countries. When I remember when I changed schools from New Jersey schools to South Carolina schools, before we enrolled, we had to get had to have a physical, my brother and I, and get our shots updated or something we had to get. I do remember just like going and making sure that we were current on our shots, right? I just don't understand Ric Flair. He wishes he was Ric Flair. That's so cute. Vince McMahon. Meg, that's a good one. Vince McMahon. When Vince McMahon started getting into the ring more, that's a real good one. Meg, you win. Hey El Cool J, good morning. Right. Anna Marks revisiting the secessionist language. Right. Exactly. More of the new Civil War. That rhetoric is powerful, and I think that's what we have to start holding our elected officials accountable for. The rhetoric is so inflammatory, right? Joni, you said make sure my parents check their provider. You think that your parents? Yeah, my parents are older probably. My dad's 80, my mom's 70. Yeah, they're gonna get that booster. We on it. We had a family meeting yesterday. I'm gonna refer to my parents as left Twix and right Twix. I went to the left Twix and the right Twix factory yesterday, and we had a family meeting. Very spirited, but they're all on board with the booster. Right. 45's war on science. Joy, you said, and the media paved the way for the madness. Yep. All right. D, you say, I think it's more about the American privilege than it is about science. It really is American privilege. Other countries are. WHO came out last week and like, oh, y'all getting boosters? Shit, there's parts of the globe that didn't even get the first shot, but y'all getting thirds now? You know what I mean? Second and thirds? Yeah. Definitely Vince McMahon. All right, now awkwardly pivoting real quick. Again, really tentative. Nancy doesn't seem to be talking about this is what I've seen from Nancy. Okay, so we've seen this ad, right? And I want y'all to understand the how this ain't a sophisticated breakdown. But let me switch gears. I'm gonna switch to camera only. Okay, so if you're like me, you got this ad from Nancy Mace. Let me see if I can kind of get it. Right, you got this ad, and what you can see, because I don't have a PDF copy of it, but what you see here is you see a certain specific color choice, right? Not purple, but also not over the top red, white, and blue. Is more so like, and this is real. I know y'all probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, color choice, color palette is important. It's kind of patriotic, but not over the top, right? The other thing you see is Nancy Mace featured prominently in the center, wearing a mask as she's with, I guess, other business folk and whatnot. She might be at the docks. I don't know where she's at. And then she's saying protecting the environment. This is interesting. Protecting the environment is one of the issues that she has up top. She's targeting, I believe she's targeting Joe Cunningham voters, right? She's talking about the environment here. First bill passes the House committee, work begins. She's talking about the work she has as a freshman, investigating waste, fraud, and abuse, right? And has some initiatives over here. She's still on that Paris Island bullshit. Introducing a bill to protect Paris Island, working with Secretary of Transportation on infrastructure funding, protecting the environment, which is rich because she's with that Koch brothers dark money group. So they're very anti-climate change and very anti-environment. So this is really rich, saying that she's protecting the environment is number 3 with her initiatives, signing on to the support. So my point in saying that all of this, and I'll switch back. All of this, she's trying to make an appeal to, I guess, either that swing voter or that Joe Cunningham voter, and she's trying to appeal to issues so also taking a stand, saying no to earmarks, ensuring South Carolina remains a right-to-work state. Justin, this is number 6. Ensuring South Carolina remains a right-to-work state. Right-to-work is in bold. So she's sending these out. The color palette suggests, and the fact that I got this suggests, on Wamala, which is still hanging on to predominantly black for like at least one more year. She sent this out to make an argument to a voter like myself. It's interesting that her team chose Paris Island as something that we wouldn't give a fuck about that. But these mailers and who they go out to, what they look like, this is part of a larger industry. And so they have mailers for every segment, every type of voter, especially if they have enough money. So they have the mailers for black voters. They have the mailers for conservative voters, but who are more liberal with environmental issues, right? They have all kinds of mailers. And so this was strategic. I don't know how effective it'll be. It gives you a timeline as well, 150 days. 150 days putting the Low Country first, right? It's really interesting. She has some testimonies from Somerville, a Somerville constituent, and a Mount Pleasant constituent. There are 3 pictures on this mailer where Nancy Mace is wearing a mask. She's trying to seem pro-vaccine, but none of her public appearances have been about vaccine, mandates, mask, or anything. And one would argue that while she's been on the infrastructure kick, she's ignoring, at least publicly, whenever a camera is in front of her face or a microphone, she's ignoring the pandemic. Now, what I have seen, if y'all have Charleston area news, or I think it's a state ad, DHEC is running ads on television that feature Spanish-speaking constituents or presumably members of the Latinx community, members of the African-American community. And then this morning, for the first time, I saw the DHEC ads. They're in yellow, right? And Nancy Mace looked like she took a video with her phone, and she's telling you to go. She's encouraging folks to get the vaccine. It's I don't know what kind of line Nancy's walking, but it's really, really, it's really disorienting because she's trying to be pro-mask, pro-vaccine without, I guess, being very out and loud with it. But it's just weird what I'm seeing. Especially, it's just really weird. But she is trying to make an appeal to a certain a Joe Cunningham voter, because of course, even with my criticism of Joe Cunningham, I did vote for him for his reelection bid, right? So, but what we see here, we see more discussion about what our withdrawal from Afghanistan and also infrastructure talks. So, and y'all keep me honest in the chat. I know I asked this before, and it's kind of like an easy question. Nancy Mace never served in the military, right? But she's using her Citadel, her history-making Citadel, I guess alumni ship. She's using that to get her entree or to gain entree to military spaces, or at least to be a vocal advocate of the military. Because we know that while the Citadel is a military school somewhat, we know that folks aren't enlisted. It's not like the school in Virginia. Ooh, brain fart. It's not like, is it VMI? It's not like those other military where you go off and you serve or what have you. I might have that completely wrong. Keep me honest. But she did not serve in the military, correct? But yet she's kind of positioning herself as a foreign policy and a military expert. Is that what I'm saying? So the news that Nancy has made amid all of this, all these stories, amid all the ICU, the scarcity of ICU beds, the spike in pediatric COVID cases, Nancy's been more vocal on her page with stuff like this.
We really don't, as a nation, have any idea what was left behind, what its value is, how much equipment how many weapons platforms, what we left behind, are now in the custody of the Taliban.
This is what she's spending her time
I know
on.
that many of us read reports yesterday that now Iran is allegedly buying equipment, particularly vehicles, from the Taliban. This is enormously problematic for the United States on a global scale, and does impact our national security. One U.S. official recently admitted that everything that hasn't been destroyed is now in the Taliban's.
So she's fueling these really erroneous claims that basically we left all our military weaponry in the hands of the Taliban, right? So she's going that route. Let's go right here.
The State Department, I wonder what the culpability of somebody like Anthony.
Oh, her ring light blew out. Her ring light blew out, y'all. I wonder if Antifa blew her ring light out, because we can't really see her.
The State Department, I wonder what the culpability of somebody like Anthony Blinken is. What do you think?
Well, Anthony Blinken was on vacation in the Hamptons as Kabul fell. I mean, if you're on vacation as Afghanistan's falling, you're not the right guy for the job. And I've heard story after story of family after family stranded in Afghanistan. And they want to tell us, the American people and our veterans who fought for 20 years in Afghanistan, that there are only 200 Americans left there. I don't think so. I believe that they're cooking the books on these numbers. They're not including green card holders, are not including their spouses or their families or their children that we also should be rescuing out of Afghanistan. They want to declare a win when we still have Americans and our allies left on the ground who may be murdered, and we're negotiating, as I heard earlier.
Wow, I'm gonna cut her mic. Who may be murdered. Not only is that completely irresponsible, let's go back to her page. And y'all know I don't like to spend a lot of time here on her page. Hit refresh. Let's go back to her page real quick. I see y'all in the chat. So you click on videos. Nancy has 273 subscribers. She got 100 more subscribers than me on her official congressional page. And so let's just take a look at what she's been talking about. All right, unions dictating science. Oh, we got to hit this up, Justin. We're gonna hit this up. Because again, on her flyer, right to work state is a priority. So she talked about First Amendment, that little 30-second clip we just watched, which is weird. Nancy Mace was on Newsmax. She loves Newsmax. They love calling her. Talking about Afghanistan, socialism, infrastructure, right? And okay, a month ago, urging people to get the vaccine. She's in that ad campaign from DHEC now. But that's one out of buku. Talking about everything from Cuomo's resignation to a ride along with cops. You know, that one little, that one ad and this one video on her personal page, these are her priorities, right? So yeah, she wants to message a little bit to people like me and maybe you, those who might be watching this live stream. She wants to kind of let you know that, hey, vaccines are important. They're important. Get vaccinated. You might want to get vaccinated. But she's really loud when it comes to Afghanistan, infrastructure, and things like that, right? Let me hit this union shit.
I want to bring in Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
Why is she always on these finance channels? Like, why is she always on these commerce channels? Again, thank y'all for helping me out with, so Joni, you put in there West Point and Air Force Academy grads, those grads have an obligation to serve, right? Like, I remember that with David Robinson and some of my favorite athletes who would go to certain schools and they had to fulfill their commitment. David Robinson is the one basketball player from the NBA that I remember. And I bring that up again. What's her foreign policy expertise? What's her foreign policy chops? Just because you dressed up like Captain Crunch for 4 years. Oops, let me stop. I'm sorry. Wait. I'm seriously sorry. I got a lot of Citadel alum. I'm sorry, Citadel. I hope I didn't lose nobody. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I know I lost a bunch of people. I'm sorry. Not Captain Crunch. Let me pivot. I just don't know her expertise. Her expertise. It's about Nancy. I think Nancy looked like Captain Crunch. But what? Seriously though, let me stop. Seriously though, Mika, you're not contrite. Your laugh says you're not contrite. I'm trying to be contrite. Alvin, don't kill me, Alvin. Don't kill me, Mike. All my Citadel alum followers. I'm sorry. All right, but seriously, what are her bona fides when it comes to speaking on issues like foreign policy, like our military abroad, and also why is she on these business channels? I don't understand. And again, it's really hard for me to take her seriously when she's talking about the economy and things are just going bad when we see like all these green metrics pointing up. And I get it. The stock market doesn't tell us much about the health of the economy, but it's just really weird to hear her talk about, things related to commerce and business and capitalism when the markets are very strong. I'm sorry. I know. So much
Republican
laughing.
From South Carolina. Congresswoman, later on today, we're going to hear from the president, and we understand he's really hard. He's going for mask mandates, get back to school, wear masks, get vaccinated. As a mom,
that's a good
how
thing.
do you feel about children in the classroom 6-8 hours a day in a mask?
Ooh.
Well, I'll be frank with you. I believe that parents should be able to make healthcare decisions for their children, and nobody.
No. He asked you, how do you feel? That's a good non-answer. He asked, how do you feel?
Hours a day in a mask.
Well, I'll be frank with you. I believe that parents should be able to make healthcare decisions for their children and nobody else. Delta is raging in South Carolina per capita. We have the highest rate of infection right now than any other state in the nation. So when my kids...
Whoa. Why they do this? You see how they politicize this? Shout out Moderna gang. But no, this is crazy how they put the... First of all, we need to do a whole live stream on the business of vaccination. That's a whole sidebar. You know what I mean? How these companies are making money hand over fist, and like you do have to factor in the development of a booster, the economics part of the development of a booster, how this is big business, right? And how this is being used, and it like in so many different ways it's being used. But this is interesting that they chose to pop up this metric or these stock numbers or whatever, market numbers. It's interesting that they popped this up as she's speaking about the vaccine, right? It's really wild.
Went back to school this year. I said, well, Delta, until we spike, until this thing peaks, we're going to be in masks and we're going to wash our hands as much as we can and be distanced. I don't want to get COVID again. I don't want my kids to get COVID. That's based on science. So that's not based on unions telling the scientists what to do. And, we shouldn't be politicizing this pandemic. And I think the reason there's a lot of hesitancy.
You're literally on Fox News with these numbers next to you talking about we shouldn't politicize it. Can't take her seriously. So some anti-union, again, coinciding with what she was a little more delicate in terms of saying, right to work state, remains a right to work state. That sounds a little bit more palatable. People probably don't always associate that with unionization and whatnot. But these are her priorities. Very simply laid out. I really do. Let me, I'm not going to say anything more about Captain Crutch. I feel bad. I just feel like sometimes though, I think even the most spirited alumni of the Citadel does understand that the Citadel, in terms of the military aesthetic, how that's oftentimes confused or used in a way to communicate some sort of military prowess or some type of, I don't know. I think even the most, like I said, most spirited alum could attest to the aesthetic of a Citadel and some of the uniforms they wear and whatnot, and the pageantry of all of that, and how that's kind of seen publicly, and how much credibility it offers folks, right? I think the Citadel's a fine school, just on a basic level. It's a fine school. It's a school steeped in it's a school steeped in a disgusting I don't know how else to say it. The Citadel was created to put down slave insurrections violently and with brutal force, right? That's not to say, again, just like when I'm talking about the nonprofit industrial complex here later on this week, it's not to say that folks, the individuals, need to be demonized. I don't believe in that, right? But I think if you take an honest look at the Citadel and its history, and then you look at also the pageantry along with how the military aesthetic is used to kind of convey a different message. I just think it's something that we can be honest and critical about at the same time. And so I'll leave it there. Doesn't mean I don't love y'all. I love my Citadel grads. Thank you for those who got at me on Twitter. I'm like, yo, we got your back. I appreciate you. Also, I love sugar cereal. Y'all know that. So there's that. I want to pivot to something more recently from Lindsey Graham. He said something really wildly ridiculous. I'm going to click on Young Turks and see how
Iraq and Syria.
Senator Lindsey. Okay, let me rewind it a little bit. So we're switching from Nancy Mace to Lindsey Graham.
We will be going back into Afghanistan as we went back into Iraq and Syria.
Senator Lindsey Graham, who is heavily funded by the defense industry, is itching to reinvade Afghanistan.
See, that's what we need to talk about. Now, of course, the Young Turks is way more left and progressive. I have my critique of the Young Turks, but they get it. They frame it in a way that you got to understand. They give you another side. They do, this is important. But yeah, heavily. Of course, he's a veteran, right? He served in the Navy. But yeah, supported. Let's rewind that a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Senator Lindsey Graham, who is heavily funded by the defense industry, is itching to reinvade Afghanistan following Biden's withdrawal of U.S. troops. In fact, here's more of his conversation with BBC host Stephen Sacker.
The Taliban are not reformed. They're not new. They have a view of the world out of sync with modern times. They're going to impose a lifestyle on the Afghan people that I think is going to make us all sick to our stomach. But most importantly, they're going to give safe haven to Al-Qaeda, who has ambitions to drive us out of the Mideast writ large and attack us because of our way of life. We will be going back into Afghanistan as we went back into Iraq and Syria.
Hang on, are you seriously think the United States will once again, in a foreseeable future, put troops back into Afghanistan?
We'll have to, because the threat will be so.
Sidebar. That's how you stop and you ask for clarity. All right, just like Raphael James did with Barbara Crosby. I know it's completely different interviews and different stakes, right, and different levels of government, completely. But that's how you push back local press. I'm gonna need y'all to start doing that a little bit more, especially with Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds.
So large. Why did we go back to Syria and Iraq? Why do we have 5,000 troops in Iraq today? Because of the caliphate rising, projecting force outside of Iraq, killing Americans, killing the French, attacking the British. So yes, it will be a cauldron for radical Islamic behavior. You cannot deal with this over the horizon.
What's fascinating about Senator Lindsey Graham and the statements that he makes there, the clear fear-mongering about how Americans will be targeted and murdered, is that he also simultaneously minimizes right-wing violence in this country. He consistently minimizes what happened in the nation's capital on January 6th. But more importantly, if you look at the impact of these multiple tours in places like Afghanistan, like Iraq, our soldiers have been suffering with all sorts of mental health issues, which they then bring home, and unfortunately, in some cases, ends up in violence against people around them. In fact, there was a story just this weekend about a sharpshooter from the Marines in Florida, and he decided to, suffering from severe PTSD. I'm not minimizing or trying to excuse what he did, but he opened fire and randomly killed 4 members of one family in Polk County, Florida. Okay, including a 33-year-old mother and her 3-month-old child. And we just abandon our troops here in the United States once they come back from those multiple tours.
It's like the whole right to choose argument. Y'all care about this baby in the womb, and you care about these cells in the womb, but yet when these lives are born, when women or people carry a a fetus to full term and then deliver, you don't care about that. You abandon that baby. So what about the same thing with the old Afghanistan women's rights? What about the women in Saudi Arabia? What about the women in other areas? You don't really care about women's rights. You don't really care about these women abroad. You don't care. You don't even want them in your country. You don't even want them in your state. And right, what about the soldiers? You care about the soldiers so much. You care about another invasion. But what about the soldiers here? So I really do. That's one thing too. Coming out of the 9/11 commemorating weekend, saw a lot of attention paid again to first responders and carrying the American flag over the Cooper River Bridge and motorcycles with all these flags coming down Highway 17. And I saw like 100 cyclists or motorcyclists at one point. But we're not focusing on what the war in Afghanistan and how that set us up for January 6th in terms of our presence 20 years. These people are all dressed up for war and ain't got nobody to shoot. And I don't say that to be mean. I don't say that to be glib or grotesque, right? It's serious. Like, you got them all dressed up and geared up and you got them in warrior mode and they don't have an enemy. So now they have to create an enemy, and they're doing that here. Their neighbors have become their enemies, right? Their neighbors the neighbors with opposing points of views have become their enemies. It's the same thing with the whole cop thing. We have these warrior cops. We're taking a lot of this. Please watch that Frontline that came on last Tuesday. I can't say it enough. I might, if I wasn't gonna get popped for copyright, I would watch it here with y'all live. I still might do it. Please watch that Frontline, because it takes you from A to Z, and it takes you right to the insurrection, and it ties what we've been doing for the last 20 years abroad. It ties it right into what we saw on January 6th. And it's that warrior, like with the warrior cop mentality, right? And like how our police benefited from the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, because a lot of that, Nancy Mace's so worried about the weaponry, Sweetie Bop, that weaponry came to our police departments here. That weaponry came here. A lot of that stuff is right here in our police departments. So you worry about the weapons so much. Don't worry. Mount Pleasant and Charleston and other police departments, they got enough weapons from our activity abroad. I want a timeout from our state and our Senate and our congressional leaderships to pivot back to what we want to talk about today, which is the call to action from City Council. I think I am going to. Let me see if I think I am going to hop over to, I could just do this. So yeah, if you peep the email this morning, newsletter this morning, the top item within the newsletter featured this. It's a link. I just downloaded the PDF and just linked it to my Google Drive. It's not a big deal, but let me see if I can make this bigger. Right. So this is the, it says amended. I don't know what the other amendments look like or what the other version look like, but this is for tomorrow's 5 p.m. City Council meeting, right? And this is the agenda item. So if you have the newsletter, you can click the link to the agenda right here, and you'll see, this is literally from the city. So I'm timing. I know I'm doing an awkward turn, but just bear with me. Thank you. Yeah, that one too. So that Frontline, no, that's the other Frontline. The one they did on 9/11. Honor marks, that one. If you want to drop that one in the chat, the most recent one, and you'll see the insurrection featured in like the thumbnail. But the most recent Frontline, and the next Frontline gonna be a doozy. I'm a Frontline fanatic, y'all. I swear, I just love Frontline. But yeah, that one's important. But the other one, the more recent one, let me just read the chat real quick. El Cujo, you said you echo thoughts from Jessica and Kia. Let me see what y'all was saying. What about the women in Texas? Absolutely, to my point earlier, right? About who they care about, who the Republicans purport to care about. Thank you. Right. I also co-sign. Thank you, Honor Marks, for dropping in the chat. It's the more recent Frontline. So again, City Council just making a hard turn back to, because I should have did this at the top, but in the middle is perfectly fine as well. So you'll get if you don't want to go to my website, if you don't want to open my newsletter, you're not subscribed, you can go to the city website and you'll have the most recent city council agenda for tomorrow, September 14th. I want to scroll down to the most important, or what I feel is the most important parts of the agenda. So along with roll call, invocation, pledge of allegiance, right? Presentations of recognition. They're going to recognize the honorable Lucille Whipper, right? And then they have another presentation / recognition here. Low battery seawall project. Y'all, that seawall project is buns. It's not the solution, y'all. Stop building on shit. That's my sophisticated analysis. But I'll offer up a little bit more about that whole seawall, the pros and cons of the seawall, and what people like the Friends of Gadsden Creek have been trying to communicate to our elected officials, what the Dutch Dialogues communicated, what local engineers have been lifting up in terms of a real alternative. A seawall is not it. All right. Also public hearings, right? And so you have right here, H, agenda item H is the citizens participation period. Right. So here's where they emphasize decorum. Any person who speaks at city council meetings shall conduct himself or herself, just say themselves, in a manner appropriate to the decorum of the meeting, and is asked to observe section 2-28A of the Code of Conduct, the Code of the City of Charleston, rules of decorum. Violation of the rules of decorum may result in a forfeiture of audience before council and or removal from the meeting. Right? Citizens may use one of the following methods to request to speak at the meeting or provide comments. You have to do this, y'all, before 12 noon today. Before 12 noon today. Request to speak at the meeting and comments must be received by 12 today. Request to speak or leave a comment via voicemail at 843-579-6313. Okay. And it gives you the instructions here. Again, if you need this, you can just like hit me up and I can just DM you my newsletter and it'll link to all of this. And even if you don't want to subscribe, I can just show you the newsletter and it's right at the tippy top. If anybody has my newsletter, if I see how Anna Marks is dropping, absolutely. Thank you, Anna Marks. How just like Anna Marks is dropping the links to the frontline specials. If somebody would, if you don't mind, somebody who got the newsletter this morning, if you know how to view it in browser, take that link and drop it in the chat. I'd really appreciate it. If someone can, if you can't, that's cool too. So this is an in-person meeting and it's going to be a virtual option as well. Right? Right? It's in person, right? It didn't say it wasn't in person. This is in person. Keep me honest. Keep me honest. If it's not in person. But yeah, so gotta do it you gotta sign up before noon today. Shout out to Dr. Felice Knight, shout out to Marcus McDonald, who've been very, very active in communicating this and making sure that folks have access. Thank you. Look at y'all. That was a test. That was a test to see who's Let me stop. Thank y'all. I'm actually gonna click on it and see if I can I'm actually going to click on it and see if I can. Okay, so yeah, boom. So this is the newsletter today that went out right before I hit live here. One more again, boom. So here you go, tomorrow, Tuesday, right? So you got the two agendas linked here and again linked here. So the agenda's here and then here is I think the agenda again or city council, and then I screenshotted the instructions, right? Very important agenda item. And then if you scroll down again, city council is going to be talking about the COVID response. So Mayor Tecklenburg, Sharon Scaff, Emergency Management Director, Tracy McKee, Chief Innovation Officer. You hear that? Chief Innovation Officer. That word innovation got me shook. Honor. So that's going to be an important agenda item. Also here for ordinance requiring face coverings, but here sneaky important. So face masks. So we saw Ross Appel suggest on Twitter to tune in to Tuesday, right? But also here, along with the face mask, because this is what they want you to watch. We definitely shout out to Felice Knight, Dr. Felice Knight, who works at the Citadel, historian. Amazing. She was the chair of my history and culture subcommittee as part of the commission. So they're going to do a presentation, Special Commission on Equity, Inclusion, and Racial Conciliation. So this is important to just stay abreast with here, right? Final report and recommendations. So we just need to stay actively involved in both the mask ordinance issue, the response to COVID, and also the Special Commission on Equity, Inclusion, and Racial Conciliation, the final report and then recommendations. And we want to support those who really poured into the commission and the work that came out of the commission, okay? Okay, boom. Let me close that out. All right. Thank you for dropping it in the chat. Yeah. Thank you for dropping it in the chat. Let's pivot to, I wanted to make sure I went back to, oh, it's 9 o'clock. I want to make sure I went back to that because, again, I should have led with that, but yeah, so we got that there. I want to get back to, again, local leadership, local news, local responses. So we got oh, this is a little bit of funny from Stephen Colbert. So we just watched Lindsey Graham talk about Afghanistan. Okay, careening the car right back into the other direction, getting back to our state leaders, our Senate. We did Nancy Mace, so we did congressional level. Now we're back on Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is making this assertion that we're going to reinvade Afghanistan. I'm gonna say this. Time out. Left-leaning press, including like the Young Turks, they have they know what people like to click on and watch, right? And I like to make things funny too. Like, so there's an entertainment component to a lot of things that I do too, of course, right? But I want you to understand too that what Lindsey Graham said is not as preposterous as left-leaning media is saying. In terms of, if we listen back to the 9/11 in Black live stream, what do we listened to Ambassador Peck at the time, 20 years ago. Ambassador Peck took to Fox News and was ridiculed. What was Ambassador Peck talking about? Our ever present, like our presence over in this area, in this part of Asia, in Iraq, right? Our presence has been there for decades prior to that 20-year commitment or that 20-year presence in Afghanistan. And so I would argue that of course we'll have some sort of presence and we'll have some sort of involvement in that area. Of course that will. I actually think that that's true. Now, whether we're going to have a full-scale invasion or have the number of personnel that we saw over the last 20 years present there, no, I don't think that, but I do think that we'll have some sort of presence there. So it's not completely preposterous. So as we kind of make fun of Lindsey a little bit, just want to keep that in mind. Sometimes, very often the left can be just as complicit in the bullshit, present company included. It's Stephen Colbert.
We will be going back into Afghanistan as we went back into Iraq and Syria.
Hang on, are you seriously think the United States will once again, in a foreseeable future, put troops back into Afghanistan?
We'll have to, because the threat will be so large.
It won't because of the threat. Right. The only way to reduce the threat of Al-Qaeda to the United States is to send more troops to Afghanistan. Just like the only way to get this dog off is to sprinkle more bacon bits down there. Oh my God!
That's so weird. Stephen Colbert is so funny. He can be funny. He can be obnoxious, but he can be funny. All right, so that bacon bits. So that's one. Let's see what Timmy's been real, not quiet. I definitely won't tell you that Timmy's been quiet. Timmy has not been quiet. Timmy has been doing what Timmy needs to do to get ready to run for president in 2024 and to win his re-election coming up, right? So Timmy's been doing Timmy-like things. This is a recent clip from The Hill from Timmy. I'm going to keep calling him Timmy.
The pandemic, we saw nearly 1 million kids not return to school.
Why,
Timmy? That is an astounding number.
Why, Timmy?
And what that means to their future, yet to be determined. But we know that so far, all signs indicate that it is a bad, bad thing. And so we have a lot of work to do to recover from the pandemic, to make sure that those 1 million+ kids are back in the classroom. We also have had to overcome the challenges of virtual education for so many parents.
So you understand too. I remember when Tim Scott talks about education and kids return to school, you understand the interest behind him. So this is from September 10th. This is posted to The Hill September 10th. So just a couple of days ago. But understand, you know, the Voss family and similar donors, donors who are heavily invested in school privatization are giving him certain talking points that he needs to be vocal about. Because he's not talking about safety protocols. He's not talking about the statistics. He's not talking about the spike in pediatric ICU cases or pediatric COVID cases. He's talking explicitly about just returning to normalcy and all that. And it's really interesting. Yeah, so this is just to show you what Timmy's been more active with. So signaling to his education donors or to his school privatization donors, signaling to them, you know, being very vocal about returning to schools and their talking points. But also here, again, the reflex is, let's talk about first responders with 9/11. Let's not talk about our complicity in war. Let's not talk about, you know, how this was a 20-year failure. Let's not talk about imperialism. Let's not talk about how these gruesome attacks on American soil led to even worse. We've killed more people in Afghanistan, many of them civilians, than folks have died here 9/11. Drone strikes, other bullshit. We've done more. We've done torture. We've done Abu Ghraib, Gitmo, like 20-year failure. But yeah, let's just wave the flag, right? That's usually the response from the right and some of the left. Let's just wave a fucking flag. And no shade to first responders, but you get what I'm saying. They're using first responders. See, look at this.
It's been 20 years since that fateful morning. But the memories of those sacrifices have not faded. The horrific events that were meant to...
Why would you... I'm sorry. That was over the top. That's from September 11th. You didn't have to put that in there. That was gratuitous. Yeah, anti-quarantine message, for sure. I'm sorry. I think anyone who uses the actual strikes, the actual planes hitting the building for a political ad, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. I watched it with y'all. I don't even want to let it play. So you honor first responders by showing that huge loss of life in that way is very icky, for lack of a better word. Ugh. Let's see what else we got here. Federal funding to stop surge flooding. This is ABC News 4. Let me see if I wanted to watch this. Yeah. Again, Sinclair Station. Take it with a grain of salt. We'll take the station with a grain of salt. I believe the anchor people, Tessa and what's my man name. I believe that they are trustworthy folks here, but I just had to always tell y'all.
Well, a new plan was introduced today to help fight off surge flooding on the Charleston Peninsula. ABC News 4's Sean Mahoney is working for you tonight and has more on how the city is enlisting federal help to keep the Lowcountry safe.
Hurricane season in South Carolina can pose big risks for flooding.
Unless you've experienced them or seen them, you can't imagine how ugly and devastating it is. Not only for families, but for communities.
Surge flooding can wreak havoc on neighborhoods anywhere.
Cars on top of...
We got to start calling it crisis flooding. It's no longer surge flooding. It's no longer nuisance flooding. We got to call it what it is. It's a crisis. It prevents kids from getting to school here, down like back to green areas specifically. Literally prevents kids who are walking distance from their school but can't get to school because the water is so high and they don't always have rain boots and raincoats to help them get through that water. Nor should they have to walk in calf high water or knee high water as a kid. You shouldn't have to have that. You shouldn't have to have your own set of hip waders to get to school. But we need to call it crisis flooding at this point. It's no longer just surge or nuisance flooding.
Houses, family photos destroyed, lives destroyed, people uprooted, and it was awful.
With that in mind, the city of Charleston is looking for federal help to stop this from happening.
I put it this way. We're going to provide protection the Charleston way, where design really matters.
The Army Corps of Engineers released their Charleston Peninsula flood risk management proposal today. It comes from findings of a feasibility study on possible flood damage they conducted starting in 2018.
Y'all don't even want to know from like the I don't want to name any engineers specifically, but the engineering homies that are down with the Friends of Gadsden Creek have for years been giving and offering up alternatives and plans that would help stem the tide, I guess, will stem the flooding or help stop this crisis from occurring, and the city will not listen. And so now they're making this grand production, and I venture to say that tomorrow at City Council we'll continue to see a lot of theater around solutions and going full bore into the wall, things that people can see, like really like simple and convenient solutions that are not actually what the engineers and what the people who from the Dutch dialogues have offered up. And this is the thing, in all of the plans in the seawall, why isn't anyone when the mayor offers up a solution and he just called it the Charleston way through design, what part of the design includes you building not so many more hotels, so many more huge luxury hotels on the peninsula as the peninsula is sinking, as climate change becomes more of a reality, as the climate crisis become more of a reality, as we're seeing sea level rises. Well, tell me how all the volume of hotels is part of the design, the Charleston way design, to help us not continue to see this trend of flooding, of crisis flooding on the peninsula. Right? Water always comes back to its home, Nicole. You already know. But this is interesting, talking about the Charleston way design. You've had Charleston engineers tell you to do something more complicated than a wall and something that's actually going to yield results, right? Everything from protecting whatever remaining marshlands around, everything from that to just so many different things that that are above my pay grade in terms of understanding what kind of engineering tools we can employ. But a wall is not the answer. And I know it feels right to some people, but it's not the answer. And I would also argue that development on the peninsula, people need to bring that up more often when talking about the solutions that the city has settled on. The solutions that just really kind of are very easy to swallow, easy to kind of envision as a constituent. But if someone who's been in these groups and been part of these conversations, I understand that it's way more complicated than just putting a wall up, if that makes any sense, right? Anna Marks, you said, I can't believe Beach County was allowed to build all those new townhouses on the corner next to Sergeant Jasper, that has been flooding every time it rains for 20 years. That's interesting. And not in addition to that, like, okay, so I live close to where you can access Johns Island, and there's a new housing development. I don't know if it looks like, I don't know if it's single family homes or apartments, but y'all know, like, if you go like to Gilligan's over here on Main Road and you go down a little bit, and where Carolina Hanging Beds is, if you're familiar with this, like Johns Island Red Top area, behind that, like on the fucking marsh, are new homes being constructed. And I'm like, do these people know? Like, are these out of towners just looking for a home and don't understand that, like, you're setting yourself up for some really gnarly things in the future? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is not to make people feel silly for purchasing a home on the marsh. I'm not necessarily only trying to make you feel silly, but to understand that you're also taking away that vital marshland that provides a certain function that helps with flooding. And if you're also familiar with that area of Main Road, you remember a few years ago, there was flooding over there that was intense because of all of the new apartment complexes and construction going on over there. We've taken away this vital resource, and we're exacerbating a problem that's already being exacerbated by rising sea levels, right? I just don't get it. I'm gonna hop out of here, out of the whole federal funding to stop the surge, because I wanted to, I think there was one more, was it? Joe Cunningham. So this was a couple days ago, again, from ABC News 4, WCIV. I just wanted to click on it because I don't know what Joey's been up to outside of dunking on McMaster.
South Carolina's next governor, still 426 days away.
Wait, I thought he was calling him the next governor. No.
The general election to decide who will become South Carolina's next governor, still 426 days away.
But that's not stopping one well-known Democrat from trying to drum up support right now. Tara Jabor working for you live downtown, where Joe Cunningham is holding a campus campaign kickoff. Tara?
Oh, I missed this.
Dean, Tessa, I'm here at the College of Charleston, and Joe Cunningham is expected to be here any minute now. He's kicking off this tour right here at the College of Charleston because it's his alma mater. Now, as you can see, people are already here waiting for Joe Cunningham to arrive. He told us earlier today he believes young people will play a big role in this election. Gubernatorial candidate Joe Cunningham is starting a college tour to reach young people.
I think they're going to be a force in this next election. Oftentimes, they feel ignored, feel like their input doesn't matter, when in reality, they've got oftentimes some of the best ideas and best solutions.
Cunningham will travel across the state to bring his ideas to college campuses. He says the way Governor McMaster has handled the pandemic has been hard to watch.
This governor is shutting down our schools and he's shutting down our economy. We're working to keep things open. We're trying to keep people working. We're trying to keep people in schools. But his inaction and his lack of leadership is literally shutting down our state.
When it comes to the 2021 school year, Cunningham says each local school district should have had the power to decide the best way to protect children.
Governor McMaster wants to make that decision himself. He wants that power to remain in the state legislature and by politicians in Columbia, when those decisions should be made by independent school districts.
Cunningham says Governor McMaster has put politics over people.
Side note, is he supposed to be at home, like in front of like a mantle? More like gubernatorial. L. Cool J. Is he supposed to be home? In front of is that a fireplace? Or is he at an office? Is he at Tyler's office in Johns Island?
He wants that power to remain in the state legislature and by politicians in Columbia.
Because I'm like, who has these big ass flags inside their house like that? Who has these big ass flags? Usually you have like someone on your desk, maybe. Who the hell, like you pledge allegiance every morning? Weird. If it's home, if it's off, it's still weird. Those are like for auditoriums and stuff. I just think it's weird. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, y'all, not to be just a dick, like I'm bringing it up because everything you see behind a politician, on a politician, coming out of everything you hear from a politician's mouth is calculated, right? Everything, every single thing, his sign above his head, having a flag there, having a palm, like everything is strategic. Him not wearing a tie, him going to College of Charleston, him speaking to this young reporter who's brownish. All of that is important. You hear what I'm saying? Like don't ever sleep on the subtle signals and subtle cues and subtle touches.
When those decisions should be made by independent school districts.
It does. I wish I believe he did scramble, because it don't look like you got nothing back there but a stapler.
Himself.
Hold on.
He wants that power to remain in the state legislature.
Stapler? Who the fuck staples? Like, yeah, I would have threw some books up there. I would have just like, shoot, even if you gotta turn the books where the spine doesn't show, it's just the. I would have just did something up there. But everything you see with a politician, whenever they get screen time, earned media or media that they pay for, please best believe that everything's strategic.
And by politicians in Columbia, when those decisions should be made by independent school districts.
Cunningham says Governor McMaster has put politics over people.
We can't get our economy back up and running. Can't get people back to work, and we can't get kids back in school unless this pandemic is taken seriously. And our governor has shown that he's got no plan for it.
He says the governor's lack of leadership is on display by what is currently happening in South Carolina with COVID-19.
And he's continued to show a lack of leadership, and that's evident by the numbers. How we're near the dead bottom in vaccination rate, and we're at the very top.
I wouldn't say dead bottom.
And the rates of COVID right now.
And again, this event is set to kick off any minute now. Cunningham will continue to travel to other colleges and universities across the state. Working for you in downtown Charleston, Tara Jabor.
Now I want to go to Joe Cunningham's YouTube. Let's see what he got here, because I'm gonna offer up some free game. Tyler, if you're watching from one of your burner accounts, if you're one of my followers who I think is really cool, which is really just you, being a troll following. Let's see this. Okay. So this is 3 months ago. Nothing recent. 3 weeks ago. Okay, campaign kickoff. So nothing on his YouTube, right? Let's go to his Twitter. Oh, let's open it right here. We're gonna get to tourism. We're gonna dismount with tourism. I'm feeling kind of good. I'm gonna be on a little longer. And if y'all got a dip, you can keep listening to me. Mic'd Up with Mika is the audio experience. That's why I like it. I love Twitch on your phone. You can reduce the screen and go about your business and still hear my loud mouth as you driving or in your earbuds. If you have to go to work, you could just listen quietly at your desk. It's like I'm joking. Please don't listen to me out loud at your desk. All right, so I'm gonna look up Joe Cunningham here, cause as he kicks off this this tour, I'm gonna offer up some free game. All right, so this is him in the prohibition. What's this? Prohibition of what? In the prohibition. Yeah, that's his campaign ad using his kid. All right, 2018, we flipped that seat. Yeah. I don't care about that. Oh, here we go. College tour. Okay. So let's see so this was 14 hours ago. Our college tour is headed to the Citadel, right? Tomorrow night. See you there, Bulldogs. All right. Let's see what else. September 11th. Let's see. Representative still in this mess. Okay. Interesting choice of photo. Not bad, just interesting. South Carolina gubernatorial candidate Joe Cunningham wasn't impressed with governor's response to Biden's latest vaccination requirements. Okay. 20 years ago. Yeah. I don't care about what you think on that. I'm trying to signal to black voters that there's some allyship there. Silly comments. NAACP, of course. All right. Doing the absolute minimum when it comes to the black voter, by the way, y'all. Absolute minimum. And what you'll see is you're going to see that the NAACP really gift any Democrat like a platform and a lot of proximity without making any distinctions, without making them work for it. I hope that they also platform Mia. I got commentary on Mia's campaign I'll offer up later. But okay, so what I'm looking for part of this tour here, I'm looking for something a little bit more meaty. I'm looking for video. I'm looking for a little more candid information. Just so you know, sidebar, you're not going to see a lot of candid moments from the Cunningham campaign because he's really not that great. Like candidly, he's not that great. Like here's a photo that's interesting. He's not that great. One-on-one. Oh, here, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, so yeah, he went to College of Charleston, right? And this is what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for some footage from his visit. What I feel might have been more effective here. I hope I'm not losing y'all. I probably lost a couple. What I felt was more effective would have been him walking the campus with campus leadership. That baseball cap is not it, dog. Does not make you look younger. Maybe if you would have turned it backwards. I don't know. But I don't see enough black students engaged. So did you reach out to the Black Student Union or any of the other multicultural groups? I hope he did. Kayla's on his team. Kayla is an alum. So maybe she did. I see some black students out here. That might be staff. I don't know. What would have been effective too would have been walking the campus and going over like safety protocols, talking to the leadership. Because even in my little visit to Pratt, when I went to Brooklyn a couple weeks ago, that campus was like not playing. They was not playing with having, like, they wanted to make sure certain visitors, they limited access to campus to visitors. They wanted to make sure that folks, the student body was vaccinated and could show proof of vaccination status via their student ID. Now, granted, College of Charleston is not Pratt. It's not the Pratt Institute at all. But I was overwhelmed by the protocols put in place, and I was very much just intrigued by how they tried to keep folks safe. I went to an orientation, so there was food available, how they had individually packaged meals so that, you know, they can help try to prevent the spread of COVID. They had things spaced out in the gymnasium so that folks wouldn't be on top of each other, and folks could naturally social distance as they picked their food and as they interact with other aspects of the orientation. It would have been effective for him to talk about that as well. If we're talking about returning to school and kids' safety, I think it would have been effective to walk the campus and talk about protocols and make that a cornerstone of your visit. And also, again, more candid moments with students, not just these stage moments where you can see throngs of students seated on the grass and whatnot. It'd be more important to show to me candid moments with the students where you kind of let your hair down kind of thing. All right, so we don't see that there. And Joe's not really that good one-on-one. Ask me how I know. He all right. He not warm. He not engaging. He's not super like. Yeah, we walked with him at the Friends of Gadsden Creek. We walked with him a couple years ago, and it was just a bunch of staff really trying to get her. You know, it was definitely a photo op. It was a photo op, and that's what the college tours are a photo op. They're not really engagement tools. Also with the Young Democrats, I remember in previous years, especially in my early years with working with Indivisible, the CFC Democrats would host a lot of candidates, all kinds of candidates, presidential candidates, folks, you know, trying to get the Democratic nomination to run for president. But there was a forum where they spoke, and I'm assuming perhaps there was, I don't know. But I would love to hear the students ask Joe Cunningham tough questions. Perhaps that's coming up. Maybe that already took place. I'm not quite sure. But I'd love to see that. Let me look at the chat real quick. Picture of your dog, 6-pack of beer. You talking about his office? Yeah. Yeah. Legalizing marijuana. That's another one. Did he talk about that publicly enough? Yeah. I think it's probably something he's talking about. He said, haha, put the stapler. Yeah, stapler. Who's stapling? I don't know. Who's stapling? Okay. All right, let's switch before I dip. Let's switch to tourism. I want to click on, these are stories I have no clue about. I did not click on these stories. I did not read these stories. I did not watch any content from these stories. But I want to look at these two. Let's look at Live 5 because they might have a video. So let's see what we can see. And Second Sunday returns to downtown Charleston. Mute this for a second. So yeah, we saw this in the Sunday Post and Courier. A lot of emphasis placed on
when you
tourism.
shop at our stores. Fill up, save up, and snack up at Shell.
Second Sunday is back in downtown Charleston, celebrating its 11th year. The event stops vehicle traffic spanning from Calhoun Street all the way down Queen Street. This allows visitors to freely walk up and down King Street, check out various shops, stores, and other boutiques. The Vice President and Director of Operations for the Charleston Peninsula Preservation Trust says COVID-19 did not play a factor when determining whether to reopen.
What?
We work pretty closely with the city.
Wait, hold up. What did I hear?
We work pretty
reopen.
Wait. Sorry.
We work. Says COVID-19 did not play a factor when determining whether to reopen.
We work pretty closely with the city on, when is the right time to relaunch this.
So look, this is called Cruel. Your name is your nature. Is it Kroll? Somebody gonna say it's Kroll. Carl Kroll, Vice President, Director of Operations for the Charleston Peninsula Preservation Trust, part of the preservation regime. And he said that, did y'all hear that? That COVID-19 did not factor into his decision to reopen this event. That's really not what you want to hear from anyone coordinating events in Charleston.
This event. And September was it. We have had a little bit of an uptick in COVID cases like everyone.
Whoa, yo, could somebody give me some information on this cat? Can somebody give me some information on this cat?
And September was it. We have had a little bit of an uptick in COVID cases like everyone knows. But we felt that, you know, even shutting the road down to vehicular traffic, we're making, you know, you have more room to walk.
You've always shut down traffic. What are you talking about? Like, that's part of the thing. Hold up. And you know, and this is not specific to Charleston, but sometimes you'll find someone in this position, a front-facing position of either in authority or in a position of influence, who never has had the pressure to invest in a competent public relations message. I've heard so many anti-mask, anti-vax Republicans come out, and when they talk, you can't tell that they're anti-masks and anti-vax. You say to me, that's not good. It's not good, but my point is they're competent. They know how to give you a non-answer answer. They know how to come off and sounding as if they said something without saying anything. At least humor me, at least show me that you think that I'm intelligent enough to understand. It's not a little bit of an uptick. It's not a little bit of an uptick. We're at a crisis point. At this point, he's seen the Roper St. Francis doctor give a tearful testimony on camera. At this point, he's seen front page stories from Post and Courier and from other publications about this virus. At this point, this man should have seen, should have read, should have been aware, alerted to the fact that there are no ICU beds available for a large swath of folks, and that our health systems are overwhelmed to the point where people with other illnesses that aren't COVID cannot get a bed at the local hospital or are discharged early to make room for more ICU cases. So my point in saying this and pausing in here and getting all worked up, I'm tired of CVB people, Preservation Society people, Preservation Trust people, the business class that literally that dictate all of these ordinances and all that. I'm tired of them taking to a mic and just basically shitting on y'all, spitting in your face, diminishing your point of view, diminishing your concerns by coming out here and saying that, oh, it's just a little bit of an uptake. Please invest in a PR strategy. CVB has some of the worst PR. The only thing they really work hard at is paying millions of dollars to get this stupid Best City award. That's the only thing they work hard at. They have no real public. The way that Helen Hill, let me just send it to myself. The way that Helen Hill sends out emails as if nobody ever will read her emails outside of her group and share them with the public. The way she writes with impunity about issues without literally just not giving a damn about issues, right? Let me try to find it. It was some shout out to the follower who DM'd me. I want to say I downloaded it already. Let me see if I can just send it to myself. And my phone don't want to work. Come on. I think it just really uptick. I y'all should get upset. I know you like Mika, you always get worked up over little stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Did I save it? Oh my gosh, y'all sent me so much stuff. Sometimes it'd be like a lot. Nope. Let me go back to Instagram and let me see. No, not my personal. Not my personal. Hold on one second. Bear with me. Let me just let this play too while I'm looking. It's almost over.
Kroll says the trust also worked with MUSC to make sure that the timing was still okay.
Okay, whatever. Okay. It's a he's saying two things. You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. I don't understand that. All right, so this is Charleston Beer Fest, and we're going to pivot to the story from Emily Williams in yesterday's Post and Courier. It's probably not a video. All right, so the headline is Charleston Beer Fest postponed due to surge in COVID-19 cases. So as he's saying that, this came out September 10th. Charleston Beer Fest is postponed Charleston Beer Fest is postponed for 2021 due to surge in COVID-19 within the community. Festival organizers, Palmetto Community Care, announced they made the difficult decision to postpone this year's festival until 2022 because of the recent virus surge, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to have folks kind of err on the side of caution. Let me see. Send me that. I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Woo woo. I'm gonna download it. I'm gonna save it. And then I'm gonna send it to myself. I need to tell y'all that. I need to walk y'all through that. And Google Drive. Boom, boom, boom. Upload. So the fact that Helen Hill can like write like this, and she did this after when the George Floyd protests popped off. She was very cold and callous, even after Hall's Chop House staff came out and fired their weapons, even though they were threatening protesters, compounding an issue. She sent out a letter thanking that establishment for their action, and also too, she encouraged the business owning class to come out. And here we go. So this was sent to me over the weekend. This is the Explore Charleston weekly newsletter that she sends out. Mine is way better. But here what you have is Dear Industry Partner. Look at this. Even the way they refer to each other is just business, right? All right. Department of Commerce. Yeah. All right. Dear Industry Partner, this is shaping up to be a strong holiday weekend. So this is after Labor Day weekend, y'all. So yeah, so what a great way to end the summer season. Visitation in August has been particularly strong over the last 4 weekends. This is Helen Hill, y'all. This is Helen Hill sending. This is the email that goes out every week to her to those who had to pay those egregious fees to stay in the CVB to benefit from the advertorials and all the other ad placements, right? This is shaping up to be a strong holiday weekend based on all available forecasts. What a great way to end the summer. Meanwhile, not even acknowledging COVID, right? Not even acknowledging any, like, you can say that, I'm telling you, even if I had to work for the shitty CVB and had to come up with some of their messaging, I would be able to, I would deliver it more delicately than this, right? So Helen Hill goes on to say, what a great weekend in the summer season. Visitation in August has been particularly strong over the last 4 weekends. Oh, we know, Helen. We know, because the ICU beds and MUSC and Roper St. Francis and Trident Health, or not Trident Health, the Thailand's health system calling the National Guard. Oh, we know. We know. It's been a very, very busy August here in Charleston. Visitation has been particularly strong over the last 4 weekends, with room nights sold running at 9% ahead of the same as weekends in August 2019. Listen. This is where it gets juicy. This is why the followers send it to me. It has never been more important. This is Helen Hill, y'all. CVB, Explore Charleston. It's never been more important that everyone in our industry take advantage of the free COVID vaccines that are readily available. South Carolina now has the dubious distinction of being the state with the most COVID cases per capita. So this is what she says, as reported by the New York Times, right? And then she goes on to say, this sort of publicity can definitely have a negative effect on visitation in the short term, and is already affecting group inquiries and RFPs for future dates. That's all she talks about with COVID, is how COVID publicity, how the bad pub is impacting tourism, right? And usually when she adds stuff like this, from what I've read from her, this is her marching order, so to speak, or this is how you know what she wants you to de-emphasize, right? She doesn't care about COVID. She's not giving you protocols. There's no link to check out the CVB's response to COVID checklist. Make sure your businesses are doing this. That's not included. There's no link to, hey, check out what the city, we partner with our elected officials. It's not a shout out to any of the elected officials, city council members who have gone above and beyond to keep the city safe. There's no safety message. There's no overarching, or full throat support of any of the safety protocols. Again, this city and the most, I guess, all of the festivals that y'all might think are like the top tier, on top of it, super sophisticated, maybe y'all favorite, maybe Fashion Week, maybe Seaweed, maybe Wine and Food, right? None of the, like, point two, they never do this. They never have to have an ad entity. They never have to have a PR entity that is able to understand the moment and emphasize and help assuage fears. help assuage fears, or give people tips on how to stay safe, or highlight certain businesses that have enacted some of the best and aggressive protocols. And like even if you feel like that contradicts like that it diminishes where we're at, still show me that you care. Show me that you actually give a fuck. But because we don't challenge these leaders like Helen Hill, who's been in there over 30 years, has been running tourism for the peninsula for over 30 years, we don't look and we don't scrutinize what they send out. She could have very easily just linked to a checklist. Did you have your safety kit? Are you caught up on all the protocols? Like nothing, because she doesn't have to. And all she does is point to the negative pub. And that's her way of telling you, like, this is bad. We don't need this. But yet, yeah, they're 9%. That's kind of crazy that they're 9% ahead of 2019 in terms of, heads in beds, right? That's pretty shocking. Running with room nights sold running 9% ahead of the same weekends. Shout out to all my Airbnbers and people who are outside of the whole hospitality regime, and you kind of doing yourself. No shout out to y'all who are pumping up your prices to compete with the Dewberry. Like some of y'all single family rentals on the peninsula ain't worth all that. Y'all need to chill the fuck out. Y'all ever look at Airbnb? Y'all ever look at Airbnb prices? They're egregious. El Cool J over here in the chat. He says, only the business community / money seekers have been smart enough in the strategy from the beginning. Mask, vaccines, and other mitigation tools. Absolutely. What we say, you either pay now or you pay later, right? Let me read it again from the top. El Cool J. If only the business community / money seekers had been smart enough in strategy from the beginning, with masks, vaccines, and other mitigation tools. Anti-masking and anti-vaccine messaging are anti-health and anti-education, anti-business, anti-economy. And that's one thing from the Joe Cunningham talking points that I thought was a really good, whoever pinned that for him, or framed it like that McMaster's inaction is shutting down businesses. Inaction is bad for business. Inaction is shutting down commerce. Inaction does have long-term impacts on your workforce, right? And that actually was a really good bit of messaging from Joe Cunningham. And that's exactly how you should position this argument. Shoot, we want businesses to go back, but like El Cool J offered, if you just put these put the tools and make them easy to access and make these things known, to have a campaign about safety, you wouldn't be worrying 2 years later about 9%, increase in bed, heads in beds, right? And also I want to say that we don't even try. Like Charleston doesn't have to try anymore because of the investment by the CVB. Some of these hotels don't even have to try. Don't have to try at all. They just have benefited from CVB's millions. One would argue that why y'all paying for the CVB? Why y'all paying to be in the CVB just so you can be placed in some of these advertorials? I'd love to know the ROI on being placed in some of those advertorials, because honestly, I think you benefit by being in the city, like proximity, like location. And a lot of folks, like I know XBB isn't in the CVB, and I believe Site C left the CVB. Like you can be a popular, thriving company and not part of the CVB and the bullshit, right? Low Country Street Grocery is not in the CVB, even though it's not a brick and mortar business. Like they don't play those games either. So you can see businesses and commerce leaders who understand like being in CVB is problematic. Now, whether they'll speak up more, that's yet to be seen. But I wanted to share that. And then I want to get to this story from Emily Williams, and then I'm going to dip. Joy, you say over here, how long will it take for the people in charge to realize ignoring COVID does not make it go away? You can't PR it away either. You really can't. And I agree with you. You can't. I just wish that their PR messaging would reflect the crisis that where we are right now as a country, as a state, as a city, as a region. I really wish there was a concerted effort, but bravo to you, Joy, for that comment. All right. What? Oh, I know what I can do. Just PDF. All right, let's read this. So again, I asked earlier, I don't know whoever's still with me, but what is revenge travel. Well, let's read it. Mika, let's read it so we can figure it out together. I'm trying to make it a little bit bigger. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, here we go. As travel experts try to explain the phenomenon that places like Charleston and Myrtle Beach saw over the summer, a rapid return to tourism demand as strong or stronger than what? Hold on, let me reread it. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me read it from the big screen. As travel experts tried to explain the phenomenon that places like Charleston and Myrtle Beach saw over the summer, a rapid return to tourism demand as strong or stronger than it was pre-pandemic, as we just saw with Helen Hill's metrics. Pre-pandemic, some turn to a particular term, revenge travel. Never heard of this before. The phrase has been used to describe the acute desire to get out of town that some people have felt. That's not what to get out of town that some people have felt after a lengthy lockdowns and quarantines. I thought that's what that's called. I don't know if it's revenge. This sounds like some white nonsense. People are not only traveling again, but they're trying to make up for lost time, spending more and staying longer. The term came up during a discussion about tourism recovery for the South Carolina Leadership Exchange, a collaboration of the state's 3 largest chambers of commerce in late August. Industry leaders from Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, and Myrtle Beach were discussing summer metrics, hospitality hiring issues, and ways that travel has changed during the pandemic. Cheryl Lang, CEO of Visit Greenville, mentioned revenge travel while talking about hospitality staffing needs and expectations of visitors. Though she noted she's hesitant to use the phrase, she used it anyway. Lang said hiring needs have led to some restaurants limit hours or close on some days, and that can cause challenges with meeting visitors' expectations. Customers' tolerance for modifications in their experience could change, Lang said. I still don't understand why revenge travel is. I don't understand. What's the revenge? What am I getting back? I don't understand that. Someone is not doing revenge right, right? If that's revenge, it's like one of those old timey cartoons where the cartoon character shoots the gun, but the gun backfires on them. I don't get how it's revenge. Why would somebody come up with that term to describe this? It's not even. Let's just go back to the top of the page, to the top of the piece. Tried to explain the phenomenon. What are you talking about? You just pour millions of dollars into tourism. That's not a phenomenon. It's the ROI. It's the return on investment. It's a return on investment. It's not supernatural. What the fuck? Like, let me find. Let me see. Post and Courier. COVID. Tourism. COVID. Money. Right. Like a phenomenon. Experts are finding hard. Right here. South Carolina pumps $20 million from COVID-19 fund into tourism marketing. This was written when? By Emily. When was this written? October. Let me go back. I remember reading that one. Here's another one. Okay, South Carolina tourism marketers get an extra $3 million in COVID relief funds. Click on that. What date is this? Written by Emily, December 2020. All right. South Carolina tourism has recovered well, but rising COVID cases loom. Like, we know that was recent. Okay, so I don't understand why why it's being framed as a phenomenon. Phenomenon suggests that something is hard to explain, right? Trying to make it a thing. They are trying to make it a thing. Insert the meme from Mean Girls, right? Thank you, Anna Marks. Let's pop this up. And yo, somebody in Charleston spending buku money in Forbes. I think this is the article I read last week. Oh no, this is not. Let me let the robot read it. Let's see if we can let the robot read it.
Revenge travel and where Americans are traveling. After being stuck at home for over a year, Americans are hitting the roads and
not robot, AI,
skies
or whatever.
Droves. Revenge travel is a dominating factor as many households make summer plans to visit family and play tourist.
What?
Just a quick word from our sponsor.
Oh, here we go.
This is the sound of savoring an apple cider donut from Aldi. Mmm.
I hit mute. I hit mute. Y'all can't hear it. Oh my God. Can you hear it or not? You might hear it through my headphones. It's an ad. Okay.
Yes. Told ya.
Oh, God.
Low prices. Every aisle, every day. Aldi. Shop differently.
You can't even listen to the news
Here are
anymore.
some of the places Americans are traveling to this summer and how they participate in revenge travel. What is revenge travel? This might be the first time you're hearing the term revenge travel. This travel mindset means that people are more eager to travel and less willing to cancel their vacation plans this year after the coronavirus shutdowns. Many people are tired of being at home, are fully vaccinated and have been saving up cash and travel miles for their first post-pandemic trip. As a result, revenge travelers can be more likely to try a more exotic location, spend more money to travel, or a combination of both. Domestic travel is popular. While international travel destinations are reopening, most trips remain within the United States. Many might be returning to their favorite vacation spots, but some domestic travel trends are changing.
Okay.
Small town booking.
Thank you, Honor, for Googling it. Because I'm like, what? But it's not a phenomenon. Like, we just got to stop, like, let's stop making this shit harder than we know it is. You just, like, Emily, I'm glad she threw that term in there because I'm not coming at Emily, actually. I'm responding to just this whole how we discuss and pour over some of these statistics here in Charleston. I'm more responding to that and this term that seems so ridiculous, and it what it does is just continue to make it seem like this is something that's natural, like they're almost like this is just people's sentiment. Now I definitely know that people, including myself, are definitely fatigued with COVID, definitely feel tired, feel stuck, feels like just an overwhelming sense of, like, I don't know, just anxiety and stress in not being able to travel the way we probably planned on before the pandemic hit. But we know it's not supernatural. Like, I'm not me choosing to go on a trip is not, I'm not trying to get revenge. I'm trying to get relief. Why didn't they call it relief travel? Why isn't it called relief travel? It's the relief. A lot, like, I'm not even going to demonize people who feel that, because I felt it, right? This is just from that piece in October about the $20 million in COVID relief, right? As the hospitality sector financial losses continue to mount, South Carolina is pumping $20 million into tourism marketing efforts, with more than half of it allocated to groups to promote, Charleston, the Charleston region and the Grand Strand, right? So that's Myrtle Beach and Charleston. Of the total 15 million will go to the destination marketing organizations in the parts of the state most popular with tourists. Myrtle Beach area Chamber of Commerce will get $6.88 million, or about 46% of the destination specific money. Explore Charleston, that's CVB. Explore Charleston will receive, I don't know why they didn't just put the Charleston Visitors Bureau, will receive $4.08 million, or about 27%. Tourism promoting groups in Hilton Head, Greenville, and Columbia will split the rest. Right, their shares will range from $1.28 million to $1.43 million. It's not supernatural. Why are we seeing an uptick? Why are more people coming? Why? And then yesterday, a full page ad taken out by the CVB in the Sunday edition of the Post and Courier, touting that their new hard bought award. After they've given so much money to Condé Nast, right? So it's not supernatural. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Tomorrow, city council meeting. If it's in person, I don't think we got clarity. I'm assuming it's in person. I do plan on attending. I just saw there was an email from Marcus. Let me see. I'm not, without talking too much, let me see. There was an email from local BLM leader Marcus. Okay. So there's movement around, local movement around making sure that we show up and we are vocal about the Commission on Inclusion, Equity, and Racial Conciliation, but also to masks mandates and discussions of mask mandates, and which city council people like wearing, speaking to Brian Hicks, or I think he spoke to Brian Hicks. I don't know if Brian Hicks just took a soundbite or not, but I've seen on Twitter Jason Sacrin and Ross Appel be very vocal and point to Tuesday as a night to watch. So that's going to bring the anti-maskers out. So if you're in Charleston, just get ready to rumble, right? and get ready. And I don't want to ramp up the adversarial moods or anything like that. I will say this: come prepared to not give them what they want. They want confrontation, right? This is nothing new. This is civil rights. We've seen this before, right? We've seen people on the wrong side of history take up a lot of space, spew a lot of vitriol, and that's what they're looking for tomorrow. And the opposition optics, the confrontation, the optics that come with a physical confrontation, they want that. This is gonna sound weird, but this is what I call the Kim K strategy. How are you going to compare this to Kim K? Because Kim K and her family, Kim and Kris Jenner specifically, they have taught us that infamy and the publicity that comes with infamy is just as good as any other type of recognition or any type of other types of earned media. And so the infamy is good for them. Any traction is good traction, even if it's shameful. And they've learned that, and they've raised money. Certain elected officials have raised money. Those running for office have raised money hand over fist when it comes to creating this whole raucous, incoherent, weird outpouring of just anti-science, anti-mask rhetoric. There's just too much value, and they want cameras. So the cameras are going to come tomorrow. The cameras are going to come. People are going to be seeking out these people to get talking points. They're going to focus in on, and they're going to ignore the white nationalist presence within these groups. And so let's stay focused. Let's stay disciplined. Let's stay on message. So whether you're calling in to give comment about the Equity Commission and the recommendations from the report, whether you're calling in for that or calling in to do a double dip, because I'm gonna have to double dip in my minute. I'm going to have to try to double dip, right? And so whether you're calling to talk about that or the mask or both, be disciplined. Don't give them the optics. Ignore them. Ignore them. I ignore them. We can beat them at a different game, but the game of optics, let them win. Everyone knows they look batshit wild, right? Everyone knows that. Don't give them the confrontation that they want. Unless they come, if they spit on you, tag me in. Tag me in if they spit on you. They touch you. All right. I got a dip too. Shout out to all y'all in the chat. I appreciate it. It's online. It's only online. Nicole, hit me up. It's online. It says, oh yeah, let me see. I went to an event about tourism. Oh, talking about tourism hospitality. Tried to spin that South Carolina was open and safe. Yeah, right. Yeah. Got doctors crying on camera. That's what Helen should have put in her newsletter, a link to that. Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm a dip. I really appreciate y'all rocking with me. Have a happy and safe Monday. If you can, step outside, get some vitamin D. That bug get in here. Get you some vitamin D. Get outside, enjoy that sunshine today. Make sure you wear your SPF. Okay, it's just virtual. Oh, they shut it down. Have a good week, y'all. I'll be back tomorrow. You won't get a newsletter tomorrow, but I'll be back tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we're going to recap City Council. Tomorrow, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. But Wednesday, we're going to recap City Council. Please make sure you call. You got 2 hours to call City Council and sign up to give comment. 2 hours. Oh, if it's only virtual, I might live stream it on Twitch. If it's only virtual, I might live stream it on Twitch, okay? All right. Y'all take it easy. Bye.